Hi friends, so it's been a while. As you know, I left for Queensland to look after my mother, who was, we found out was actually, had gone into acute renal failure. This is what we found out after the fact, and we didn't realise that, and so we rushed up to Queensland thinking that we might be able to look after her at home, but it turned out that unfortunately Mum was too far gone with acute renal failure, and she died 5 days after we arrived in Queensland. Fortunately, we were able to be with her, and she was compos mentis for until the day before she died, and we were able to be there for her when she died. We were actually there when she took her last breaths, and we also got to help with her suffering too. We fortunately, having some medical knowledge, helped assist in in a very, very difficult time she was having in that last day. So without going into that now, I was going to do a video on that when I return, which is probably going to be in about 10 days, or about that 10 days it'll probably take before we get back. We have to do the funeral tomorrow, which I'm organising, and we have to sell the car, the used car we bought, because we thought we might be up here for 2 or 3 months. And we also have some things that we have to bring back from Mum's place to Tasmania. That's the short of that story, and I'll probably talk about that, what happened, and also some things that you might find helpful if ever you're in that situation, and in relation to nursing homes, and in relation to palliative care and palliative sedation and stuff. Because I did a bit of research, and it was very helpful when we got up there and when we found that Mum was not being held very well with morphine. So I won't go into any more of that. I actually really wanted to post this video I saw today from Menar Muhuesh from Mint Press News, and she was explaining about her absence in the last year and a half. She's not been online as much, and she explains that, and I thought it might be very helpful to any of us who might be experiencing burnout due to, sort of online censorship by the Silicon Valley social media programs, the difficulties that it is being on the real left, not the pretend left, but the real left, and how that can be incredibly challenging because there are so few people on the real left, and there is so much censorship today. And also, if you've been doing it for a long time. So I thought I would post that, and I don't think Menar Muhuesh Adley, I think her name's now Menar Adley, I don't think that she would mind that, because her video was public on Instagram, and I just thought it had some very important points in it for all of us to take to heart. She talks about being in the now, which is very interesting, because you know that I've also been speaking about that on occasion for the last year or so, because I was having a lot of anxiety due to a number of things, but one of the main things was probably maybe immersing myself too much in everything that was going on, and trying to do, trying to post about it a lot, and also, just general life. Sometimes that can be stressful enough when you're living in a neoliberal nightmare, and you don't have much. Of course, I'm a white person, and I don't have anywhere near the struggles that people of color and black people and Muslims and other people who are vilified and demonized today in the world, that kind of thing. I certainly don't have anything near what the Palestinians have as far as suffering goes, and their oppression, etc. But just generally speaking, I was having a lot of anxiety, and I had to really sort of work out how to manage that, and that meant sort of pulling back a bit from different things, and it meant being in the now and not worrying about the future, not living in the past. And I think Menar has also discovered that it's allowed her to be with her children more. And she said they got their mother back, and she's of course been working way, 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 way more than I have, and she's been doing anti-imperialist stuff for a lot longer than I have in the way she's been doing it, doing interviews with different outlets, and being a CEO and editor of Mint Press News, and she's been full on into it. I just do this channel, and it's a very, very small channel, and I do, I do what I can, but she's really, really been immersed in it for a very long time, and it's no wonder that she felt kind of burnt out and had to take a step back. But anyway, I'm sharing this about her little video about this because we really need to support independent journalism. I say this over and over again. We need to support Mint Press News. We need to support people like Menar Adley, like Avi Martin, like Ben Norton and Robbie Martin and all those different people, all the different independent left journalists, the real left and the anti-imperialist journalists, we really need to support them because they are the most censored. And they're actually, in many ways, leading, if you live in America, they're leading very courageous lives, because at some point, if they ever become a really big threat, which even the small amount of leftist journalists there are, if they ever get the sort of following, a huge following, it's likely that, who knows what could happen. It can be a very dangerous thing to be anti-imperialist and a journalist. In other countries, but in the United States, it could become almost a deadly kind of an occupation, in a real sense. I mean, Michael Hastings comes to mind. I don't know really what happened there, but that was a very suspicious sort of a case. And U.S. empire has demonstrated time and time again that if somebody becomes a threat to empire, if somebody becomes a threat to the endless wars, then they have no trouble knocking off presidents. They have no trouble knocking off very famous leaders like MLK and Jr. and Malcolm X and people like that. They have no trouble whatsoever. They have no trouble whatsoever killing people, basically, if they truly are a threat. And at some point, independent anti-imperialist journalism, because empire is falling and they're struggling to maintain control and maintain their unipolar world that they want to basically have full spectrum dominance, they may at some point decide that any anti-imperialist journalism is a threat, and they may start to try, at the very least, try and tie people up in court cases so that it financially ruins them, and at worst, kill people. That's quite possible. So anyway, these independent leftist journalists that live in the belly of the beast, as the saying goes, are very, very brave. And that's why we need to support them financially and also psychologically and all of that kind of thing, and give them love as much as possible, because without real independent journalism that isn't bought by corporations, etc., there is no democracy left. There's skerricks of democracy left now, but it will be none if all those real independent leftist journalists go. So that's why we really need to support them. So that's why I want to share this with that Manar did today, because it's advice for all of us, but also because I would really like to see us support MinPress News as much as possible, become a Patreon subscriber, or support their GoFundMe that they've had, which was going along very, very slowly, and I don't understand why, because that outlet, MinPress News, has incredible journalism on it, mintpressnews.com, as does, of course, Empire Files, which has a podcast now on Patreon. Please subscribe to that. It's only $1 a month, but it'd be great if you could give $5 a month to the Empire Files podcast. And the real left, has to be in solidarity. That's something that's so important, and I think that there's been a lacking there of solidarity within the real left. And we have to pull together, because that's exactly what Empire wants us to do, to all be at each other's throats and blocking and banning and yada, yada, yada. And I know that I've critiqued some things that have happened by the real left, and I think it's important. I don't believe in playing favorites. I hope that if I was going in a direction that was questionable or whatever, that somebody would talk to me first. And if I was just kind of going in that direction and grifting, mind you, I'm not collecting money at the moment. I've got a few monetized videos that are very old, a few, and it probably gets me about 48 cents, probably 50 cents probably in the last few months, not enough to buy a cup of coffee. But I'm just saying that, we need to not be playing favorites, not putting people on pedestals, and holding one another accountable in a respectful way. That's what we need to do. So I'm not in the same league by any stretch as Empire Files, as MinPress News and all of that. I'm just a tiny little channel, one person who's not a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I don't have any illusions about myself. I just try and do what I can to to amplify some of the news, even though my channel is also suffocated to death by algorithms. But I try and do my best. Of course, that is very depressing, knowing that every time you release a video, if it's about anti-imperialism or whatever, that it's likely it's hardly going to be seen by anybody, even by the people subscribed to my channel. But that's how it is now. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So I'm going to play this now by Manar Muharesh. Please join her Instagram. Please send your love to her in her post on Instagram, which was today. Please subscribe to MinPress News. Please join their Patreon I know everybody's having trouble with COVID and income and stuff like that, but when you can, please throw some money at them, or any real leftist journalism, anti-imperialist journalism. And I say anti-imperialist journalism because that is one of the most suffocated by algorithms that there is. So thanks so much for watching. Thank you for all the kind words about the passing of my mother, the death of my mother. As you can see, I'm still in her house, and we have the funeral tomorrow. That's all her crockery in the background there. I miss her very much, and but she was in a lot of suffering right at the end there, and I was glad that we could be there to help her through that as quickly as possible, because it was pretty bad toward the end there. I think I'm going to have PTSD for a while about that ending there. Anyway, so thanks so much for watching. My love to you, and please stay tuned for this next little 8-minute video by Manal Muhuesh Adley. Okay, bye for now.
Hello, lovely friends. I hope you guys are feeling and doing so amazing. I have been feeling so happy, so at peace, so stress-free, so filled with gratitude that I just wanted to hop online to share some positive vibes with you all. I have been getting countless messages for the last few months from friends and colleagues online asking me, Manar, where have you been? You have not been posting online. And I just wanted to hop online to talk to you guys about why that is. Well, for the past year and a half, I have been taking a major break from social media on and off, and my life has completely changed. Coming from a journalism background, an activist background, covering war policies by the US empire and the military-industrial complex for the past 12 years, through independent journalism, through the outlet that I founded, Mint Press, I basically reached burnout, complete burnout about 2 years ago. I also went through a pretty, traumatic life event. And so I had to really kind of start detoxing the things that were causing all this negative energy in my life to help me find that inner peace again. Because covering US war crimes across the world, US foreign policy, whether it's the police state right here at home or abroad, it's all the same. We live in a system where there is a 1% military, war-loving class that is exploiting we the people at home and abroad, who are exporting terror and just bloodshed on the streets of impoverished cities here in this country and in third world countries. And I actually covered Yemen for a good 3 years straight, which is really, really close to my home. I covered the US genocide in Yemen, and the major famine that's taking place there, where 23 million people are on the brink of death because of the man-made famine crisis. And so just constantly being bombarded with all this very negative, sad, depressing news, I was going off of major anxiety and this rush to constantly be online, to be posting, to talk about these issues. And I don't have any regrets about doing that. In fact, I am more concerned about these issues than I have ever been before. And that's not the point of this video. The point is that because I was covering these issues so in depth, and I was watching people around me consume mainstream propaganda, and it almost felt like I was this lone voice in the background, always fighting for truth. And it was really exhausting. And I had to take a break. I reached a point where my health, physical, my mental health, were deteriorating. And not many people know this, because what we post online is, of course, always the greatest things about our life. And so people don't see the raw reality. And especially as an independent journalist who is constantly facing smear campaigns and attacks by very pro-war groups and individuals, and even by mainstream media figureheads, that really is exhausting as well, because you're constantly on the defensive, defending what you're saying, defending your work. And then we have this major censorship campaign by social media tech giants like Facebook and Instagram, who are doing everything in their power to control what we see, hear, and read. And then we had the elections, and I witnessed very well-intentioned people in my life in our communities, in our circles, totally succumb and vote for the Democratic Party and align themselves with Joe Biden. Not that Trump was good or anything like that, but they were being sucked into the same propaganda that the two-party system, that we have to engage in this two-party system, that something great will come out of this, Democratic Party, when of course it's all the same. And so while I still care about all of these issues, and they are very close to my heart, and I'm still the editor-in-chief of Mint Press, and I'm still working very hard, I learned that I don't have to post every little detail online every second of the day like I used to. I used to be addicted to social media, and it's because of my work. It's because of my passion. I'm still very passionate about these things. But all of these things really, really burned me out, and I was starting to have really bad anxiety. I was thinking, oh my God, if I don't post this now, I had this like superhero complex where like, oh my God, I have to be online to post and talk about these things. And I was taking all these speaking engagements like 3-4 times a week. I was traveling for speaking engagements, doing interviews on, RT, podcasts, videos. It just became so much where I almost lost myself. And so I had to take a step back about 1.5 years ago and start looking within, because my health was deteriorating. And I started to recognize that if I was not well, there was no way that I could raise my 2 little boys as a single mother. There was no, in a healthy manner, be present for them. There was no way that I could produce the best journalism in news if I was deteriorating, if I was in total exhaustion. And so that was the point where I had to take a step back. I didn't quit. I just had to take a major step back from social media and some of the projects that I was doing, including a lot of the speaking engagements that I was doing. My 2 little boys saw their mother in a very bad shape. And again, not a lot of people know this. But I looked at them one day and I recognized that I'm out in the world trying to make the world a better place by educating people. But my 2 boys at home barely had their mother present with them. And I had to be present for them. Excuse me. And so I had to take a step back. And then COVID happened. And I know that, the lockdowns were pretty extreme. But in a sense, it was a huge blessing in disguise for myself, because I took a break and I was present there in that moment for my 2 little boys. And it was almost like they got their mother back. I would wake up every single day and just be present in the moment, not just physically present, but emotionally and mentally present for them. And their behavior changed. They were just, and I saw them as well in a completely different light. I was so proud of them, and I just, of course, loved them, but I just saw them in a completely different light, and I was there present with them. And the more I was living in the present and in the moment, the more I was letting go of this need to continuously be online and be active and speak and all of these things, because we cannot be outside in the world preaching that we are trying to make a better place when we are not emotionally and mentally healed and emotionally and mentally present to our children that we are raising, to our family members, to our mothers, our fathers, our aunts, our uncles, our friends. And so that was a huge learning experience. And it was very hard, by the way, at the very beginning. I didn't know how to juggle all this, because now there was no daycare, there was no school full time, all of those things. But it allowed me to live in the present moment. And it felt amazing. It felt so amazing to be in the present moment and not to be digitally online all the time. When we post online all day long, we are not present in the moment. We are not present with our family and with our friends. We are not present. We're also very much sucked in to this digital age of social media, where we've created echo chambers. And these echo chambers are not healthy because we're not reaching the very people that our messages should be reaching. We're just preaching to the choir. We're just preaching to each other. Another thing that became extremely exhausting from social media is how polarizing conversations became. You still cannot have a basic conversation about vaccines, about masks, about police brutality, about war. People have become so polarized and so aggressive and so hateful. If you have one tiny little differing opinion, people start to attack each other and become so hateful and label you. And this also became exhausting to watch. Even people within who I thought were my friends and colleagues were arguing and bickering, blocking each other. So toxic, so toxic. My style has always been to unite on the common ground of peace and humanity for a better world. But that can only happen if we are able to have healthy conversations, even with people that we disagree with, And that just does not exist within social media anymore. And it is an agenda by the ruling 1% class to accomplish this. If we can be fighting each other, if we can sit there and bicker and fight and block and hate, if we can divide each other by classes, by, political alliances, whatever it may be, then the ruling class has won. We are divided. That is the tactic and strategy of the 1%. So with this information, with this experience, I have been living more in the moment and recognizing that while being online has a purpose, and I'm not saying it doesn't have a purpose and it's not good and I'm done with social media. I'm not. I'm still there. I am, believe there's a lot of good in being on social media. But these are the negative things that really, really, really have been bothering me. Having said all of this has really pushed me to live not just in the moment, but to connect with people on planet Earth, my neighbors, my friends, my family, reconnect with them and create this human bond that is missing from social media. Hug, embrace, listen, talk. That's what I have been doing. And I have reconnected with people I have not seen for so many years, especially because of the pandemic. A lot of people have been, really sad about the lockdowns and all of the limitations of, social distancing. And we're reconnecting. And I feel so amazing to reconnect with people. I can talk about the same issues that I want to post about online, whether it's war policies or censorship or police brutality, white supremacy, all of these issues that I still very much care about. But I can talk about them with my friends and family and my neighbors. I talked about propaganda with my neighbor the other day, and he was just like, whoa. But we did it in a respectful way. But if this would have happened online, it would have turned into some sort of argument, because that's how people are online. And so the message that I have for everybody is to take a break and live in the moment and heal what's inside of you before trying to preach all of these things online and around the world. Reconnect and be in the present moment. Live in the present moment. Meditate. Show gratitude. I feel like I'm like a Jay Shetty video right now. But this is the truth. This is the journey that I had to go through as someone who was leading one of the leading independent media outlets in this country. I was burnt out, and I don't want it to happen to other people. But sometimes we have to go through these things so that we can learn these valuable lessons. I have moved. I made sure that I am surrounded with plants, with flowers, with, really loving and supportive family and friends. I've rekindled relationships that I thought were broken. I've learned to forgive. And this is all about inner healing. And this is coming from somebody who lived under Israeli occupation and apartheid, who witnessed major war crimes and human rights abuses that really affected my heart. That was the driving force of starting MIT Press. That was the driving force of all the activism and all the work that I've put in to independent journalism for the last, 12, almost 15 years. So I just wanted to share this information with you all. I love you all. I'm sending you guys all positive vibes. Remember, it's all about the inner healing, the work that we have to do for ourselves first, within our friends, within our communities, within our family, and to live in the present moment. Feel again. Peace.